have the media to record.
Okay,
And go ahead.
okay. Good evening. It's 6:30. We have a quorum. We'll call a planning board meeting to order. And those in attendance for the planning board are Joe Zagrodnik, myself, Jim Maximowski, Bill Dwyer, and Mark Dunn. I don't think Kishore Parmar will be in tonight. He is not available. And Kayla won't be here either. Anyways, this meeting is also being recorded. And first up for general information, Mr. Dwyer.
Well, we have two people here. I'm not sure if they're here for information or for the public hearing, but first in was Merle Bruno. Did you have a question for the planning board, or are you here for the public hearing on the solar?
Public hearing.
Okay, thank you. And then Elizabeth Brinkerhoff just joined us. Are you here for the public hearing, or did you have a direct question for the planning board?
You're muted, Elizabeth. Oh,
So we have, unless Mr. Roberts or Mr. Reedy.
he just unmuted himself. Elizabeth, are you here for
Yes,
the?
I was muted earlier.
Yes, we could hear you.
Oh, you could hear me. Okay,
No, now we can.
all right. I am in a butter and I'm here for information.
Okay, that's fine.
At the public hearing? Okay. Unless Mr. Reedy or Mr. Roberts have any other business for us, we aren't posted for the public hearing until 6:45.
Right. I've got a few things we can talk. We can talk about some of the proposed bylaws. I have basically 4 bylaw amendments that I propose that we should bring towards town meeting in May. One is the revised ADU bylaw. That's just some minor changes to it, the correction that the Attorney General didn't like when the last one was approved, but we're going to make it simpler, because as we start getting into replace this section with this, replace this section with this, we're going to confuse ourselves, let alone those in attendance. So we would just completely adopt a new revised entire bylaw, but there's only some minor changes to it in essence. The other one is to amend the section on the 150-foot square. Somehow when the revised 150-foot square was adopted back in approximately May of 1998, there was a section that gave the planning board the authority to reduce the size of the square up to just like 75% of the 150-foot when it's in the public interest. And I don't know why or how that got in there, but I propose that we eliminate that specific wording of that section to simply not give the planning board that authority. I know what anybody else thinks about that one, but it's, first of all, what does in the public good mean? And if somebody really wants to reduce the size of the 150-foot square, if they have standing, let them go to the zoning board of appeals for a variance, is my 2 cents. Any comments on that one?
I'd like to think about it for a little bit. So,
Okay, that's fine. That's why I'm bringing it up today, so that we don't have to think about it the last minute.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a power that we might like to have in the back pocket, but never use. But yeah, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, the only thing is, my question to this is, what does in the public good mean?
Yeah.
I think we should, if we want to keep it, we should at least get some idea on what that little phrase might intend.
Yeah.
But it's different than something that would, I don't know what the meaning would be to that. And also the other one would be to eliminate the 60,000 square foot limit of the size of a business in the business areas. Just get rid of that limit, and that was by petition back in, I think, the early 2000, maybe late 90s. And my feeling again is, if you want to, if somebody, a big box wants to come into town and bring in more tax revenue, then, and they can comply with zoning, then let them do it.
As a practical matter, within the business and industrial districts, so much has been built out already, and so much of what has not been built out has wetlands constraints and the like, that if someone is going to bring in a large structure, it's probably going to be a direct replacement of an existing large structure.
That's basically true. But and if they say they want to make it a little bit bigger, they couldn't even make it a little bit bigger under the bylaw if they had the space available to do that. So my feeling is, it would be good tax revenue. You're right. There's probably not too many places in town that could incorporate a building that large. They probably need a zone change. If that's a town meeting vote, and that's a whole nother ballpark. But at least that would be one less hurdle they would have to go through.
Yeah, going back to I think it was the previous item, the 150-foot box. I don't know what the scenario would be, but I could imagine a scenario where someone has a site and it can't fit the 150, but all of the abutters are in support. They're like, oh, we'd like to see that go there. We're in support of it, but we say we can't approve it because it doesn't have the 150 box. So that might be a rare occasion that we might want it. But anyway, we can talk about that in the future.
Oh, the other
But
one would be to amend the wording and the solar language on screening from the word shall and change it to may. When the solar bylaw was adopted, agricultural solar voltaic was not even considered, wasn't a possibility back then, but since it has become economically feasible to do that, and screening on a agricultural solar project, can be difficult at times. It could be detrimental to the farmer trying to put the solar field in his thing, and a solar field on a farmland where a farmer can make a couple extra bucks and still farm it. My opinion is a worthwhile endeavor.
so the other part of that is that even though it does say shall provide adequate screening, which becomes also goes to matters of taste.
Makes
Right.
it subjective.
Um,
Yeah.
we had a discussion with a prior composition of the board about whether planting 3-foot shrubs that would grow over time was adequate screening versus planting trees big enough to obscure the existence of the site from construction on.
Right.
And again, that just goes, we can go around in circles about what's adequate.
Right.
So Mark, to your point about the 150, if there were a lot that was otherwise developable that wouldn't accommodate a 150, that exactly meets one of the criteria for a variance, physical shape or topography. It would also probably be an older lot, and we do allow pre-existing lots to be developed as long as they have at least 50 feet of frontage. So that would be buildable. The 50-foot square really only comes to laying out new lots.
Okay.
And we liked that because we were getting some very odd configurations, sort of,
Sure.
well, Massachusetts is gerrymanders.
Yeah.
To mind.
Well, what was happening was we had 200-foot, let's just use a 200-foot frontage. People would give 200 feet of frontage 2 foot deep. And then beyond that 2 foot line, they would reduce the lot to maybe a 150 or 130.
Hmm.
So we were getting some really creative
Right.
ideas. And they were able to squeeze in some stuff that probably wasn't in the best interest of the town. So,
Did any of that get built?
Yes.
yes. Because they met zoning with that word.
Okay.
There is a little subdivision or a division of land off of, I forget now if it's Lawrence Plain or
That's actually up to that's up to Hockanum, yeah.
just on Hockanum. It looks like a street off on the west side, east side, no, the west side of Hockanum Road as you're going up the hill. And it actually is 5 separate building lots, each with 175 feet of frontage on Hockanum Road, but then a long neck that wraps around, and the buildable area is off a common driveway.
Looking like one of those gerrymandered, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Rorschach. Okay.
Jim, the other thing I wanted to propose was the proximity of small sheds to property lines.
Right.
So that anything that does not require a building lot can be up to 15 feet from the rear lot line. But anything that does require a building lot would be 40 feet from the rear lot line.
Anything that,
Right. I knew there was one more. I just couldn't think of what it was. Okay. So that's five amendments. And
Would that affect just the side yard or the rear yard as well?
only the rear, because everything is 15 foot from the side, Joe.
Right. But when there's some residential area abutting a business, I think it has to be a little bit more. Well, that's what our bylaw says now.
The business has to be more, not the residence.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah, the residence of 15-foot side, whether it's an accessory building or a residential building, would only affect the rear lot lines, rear lot setback. Okay, well. Yeah,
I've got 644.
yeah. Yeah, I got 645, mine just turned. So with that said,
I do too.
okay, with that said, we'll open the public meeting and I will read the notice as it appeared in the Gazette. The Hadley Planning Board will conduct a Zoom public hearing on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025, beginning at 6:45 p.m. Purpose of the hearing is to review the application of Rock Hill LLC, Barry Roberts, for special permits, large-scale solar array, site plan approval, business use in aquifer, and access across other than frontage to construct a dual-use agricultural solar array at 0 Rocky Hill Road. Plans are available by emailing planning@hadleyma.gov or visit town clerk's office during normal business hours, and published twice in the Gazette, November 1 and 8. And with that, Mr. Reedy and Mr. Roberts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Tom Reedy, attorney with Bacon Wilson out of Amherst, here on behalf of Rocky Hill LLC, managed by Mr. Roberts, who's with me this evening as well. I think I'll probably get right into it. And so I'd like to share my screen just to show you an aerial of the site, maybe some historical aerials, the contours, and then I'll go over to the site plans.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Aerial, the 2023, this is from the Hadley GIS. So you'll see the aerial of the site. What we're talking about is this parcel. Really, what you see is what you get. This portion of these two parcels, there's frontage over here on North Maple. There's easement access off of Rocky Hill. As we'll talk about, the proposal is actually to bring in the utilities on the existing farm road. There'll be some poles above ground, and then it'll drop down and it will be underground till about here. And then it will go over to its final destination right here. So we tried to keep as much as we could underground until we got to the wetlands, and then we had to span the wetlands. But this is the general site that we're talking about, and specifically these agricultural fields. I'll go back to the 1990 aerial. If you can see, you'll see a theme that these have been farmed, really, I think, hayed since before the 90s, but that's as far back as the GIS goes. So we've got the 1990s. I'll fast forward to 2005. Same thing right here. I'll go to, let's say, 2015. Same configuration. You'll see obviously around is being developed. And then when we come to today, we see what is the farm field that exists. And so,
Tom,
yes, Mark.
what's at the west end of lot 61? Is that like a pit or something?
Yeah, it's a depression actually. And so part of the proposal, as we'll get into it, is filling this, maintaining vegetative buffer in this area, and I'll zoom in a little bit. So maintaining vegetative buffer here, adding some screening trees here, and then filling this in. As you know, with solar ag dual use, you need certain row spacing to allow the equipment to get in between. And so in order to have a viable project, we're capped at 2 megawatts AC, and there is no energy storage proposed for this site, right? So it's not like what a lot of developers do is they oversize the DC, and I always think of DC as like footprint. They oversize that DC, and what they do is they take all that energy, they put it in their batteries, and then they let it out to the grid as necessary. Here, there's no battery, so the project is capped at 2 megawatts AC. So that's what's going to be going out. There's no way to store that energy. So the proposal is, it's probably till about here. And then 14-foot row spacing to the east. But yes, to answer your question directly, this is currently a depression, a valley that Barry would take these trees down and then start to fill that in.
And that fill is not going to impact drainage onto any butters?
No, and I'll show you, maybe now's probably a good time to show you a little bit of the contours, just so you get a flavor. So you'll see, obviously, Rocky Hill is higher, 216 up at the road. And you're all familiar with Rocky Hill, right? And I could take you through a Google Street View, but it's, it better in your head, the vegetation that exists, and then the vegetation that exists back here, and the distance of where the panels are going to be in relation to the roadway. You've got 216 at the road, 206 in this right here, and then you're at 196 here, and 196 is the topo line, right? So even if he fills to the top of there, you're still 10 feet below some of these surrounding areas. And then everything really flows naturally down here. So you'll see in the plan, in about this area down here to the bottom of the screen, that's where the detention basin is going to be, because that's where it wants to be, right? So everything's just going to flow. There's really minimal grading here. There's no need to. It's oriented really well for solar. There's going to be some a pad. I think it's a 14,000 square foot area about here. And that's for the equipment. And so that's really the only leveling we're doing. Everything else is just utilizing the existing grades, save for this area, which we're gonna fill, and then it's gonna blend in with the balance of the site.
14,000 or 1,400 square feet?
I wanna say it was 14. Let me check, because I wanna, maybe I did the math wrong. I think it's like 78 by 40
Okay,
something.
okay.
Times 45, so maybe even less than that. Let me get to that sheet and then I
Sure.
can
Sorry,
tell you exactly.
I interrupted your spiel.
No, no real spill. Yeah, so that proposed concrete area is 48.5 by 76.5.
Okay,
So if I do quick math,
so it is around, okay,
76.5, so about 4,000 square feet, not 14,000, right? So
okay. Yeah, I
much
thought that
less than
sounded big.
14,000,
Yeah.
by quite a significant amount.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is a good site for a few different reasons. One, it's been farmed, non-food producing, you know, unless you're an animal, farm for the past, you know, pick a number of years. It's naturally screened by the existing vegetation. Topographically, it's lower than Rocky Hill, so you're not going to impede the sight lines. I think there's some beautiful sight lines from Rocky Hill up to the range. And so here it is, and we're not clear. There's going to be some tree clearing down here on the southerly end. The project does not go into the 35-foot buffer, right? So it will be within the 100-foot buffer, but there's a no disturb zone, and it's not going to go any further to into the buffer than 35 feet, which is that no touch. In total, and I'll get to it when I show the plan, the panels themselves take up like 3.42 acres. That's what the panels actually take up. The spacing is a little bit bigger, obviously, because that's, you know, with these dual use arrays, you need to keep, and we're keeping 14 feet of spacing in between. But that's what you're looking at. So where, you know, a traditional solar array is going to be much tighter and more packed in, this one's more spread out because of its nature. So the site itself really lends to this type of use. Barry he's been haying it. He'll be able to continue to hay. If not hay, we may use it as pasture. He's talked about food producing under there. We'll see where that goes, but I think the haying certainly, and the pasture land for cattle makes a lot of sense. As I'll show, there'll be an agricultural fence around the array, and it's really just those tight knot metal fencing around the entirety of the array. So I just wanted to kind of orient everybody to what it's going to be. Like I said, coming in here with some poles going underground on the existing farm road, popping back up, coming across this wetland, and then to that pad right here. Construction entrance is going to be on this side. And so I think construction is probably 3 to 4 months total, because there's not a lot of tree work, grading, those types of things that we're going to need to do. They're going to be pile-driven supports, so not helical. They'll be pile-driven. I've got a cut sheet where I can show, I think it goes down 8 feet into the ground. And let me see what else. I think it's probably like 6 truckloads. So oftentimes when I do these, people, they say, well, what's the construction like? Because after that, it's kind of set it and forget it. And so construction, we anticipate maybe 6 total 18-wheelers with the panels on them, anticipating US made panels, and would be looking to start this as soon as possible, because there are some real, as if you're following the news, federally, it's become there's much less incentive to do solar because of certain tax credits. And so starting soon now, really, it's the best for the project. So that's just high level. I wanted to stay on the screen a little bit just to walk you through so you see it. Now, if you have questions on this, I'm happy to answer given the aerial, but I'll turn it over to the site plan and then we can flip through that.
I was just gonna ask if you have any photos of the wetland. I've never obviously been back there. It's private land.
As far as, I mean, I don't
Like,
have photos
Is
of
that
it.
is that a spring runoff? Like, is that a seasonal waterway or?
There's this area in here, I mean, you can kind of see it, right? This area this is the wetlands are here, and then they bleed over to here. You can see, it looks like almost some sort of channel from
Yeah.
drainage, from
Yeah.
flow, probably from up here.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's groundwater, surface water, I'm sure, collects and then starts to move down here. The nice thing about this project is, you've got these farm fields that that's really the extent of it. I'll show you on that site plan, but you'll be able to see
Sure.
exactly, this is probably this bump because it's probably wetter over there, right? So farmers, as you all know, they don't want to get their tractors stuck. And nothing's going to grow in that slop anyway. So being able to, we're able to use what's existing. And then down here, there's a wetland further down here. I suspect exactly the same thing, just flow from the north towards the south. There's going to be some tree clearing down here, minimally over here, maybe 100 feet of tree clearing here, but still ending up 35 feet, more than 35 feet from the wetland. That's what we're looking at. So nothing within this field is a wetland.
Thank you.
Will the panels be fixed or will they follow the sun?
They're single axis trackers, so they will follow the sun.
Okay.
Yes. Let me bring up the plans.
So do they use their own solar energy to power those motors to track?
That's an excellent question. I would imagine they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, cover sheet here. Well, we can skip down there. I went a little too far. Okay. So here, Mark, you'll see the wetlands
Okay.
flagged, and I'll try to zoom in a little bit here. Let me find that. So you can see that
Yeah.
little nub I showed you is over here, right? And then we're staying, as you'll see in the next sheet, the 35 foot is identified here. The 100 foot is identified by this further line.
Okay.
And so you'll see here just where those wetlands are, and we've had this parcel delineated as well. There's bordering vegetated wetland here, but this isn't the subject of what we're talking about. Maybe a future application for something in the future or not at all, but that's what we're dealing with. And so I'll go down to the next page if it decides to load. We went a little too far, I'm sorry. Zoom out a little. Okay. So here we are. I got a sensitive computer tonight. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. So here's, and I'll show in the next one a little bit closer up of the array. Rocky Hill to the north, North Maple to the east. Here's where those holes are, drops down, follows this farm road, pops back up, spans, comes down to that equipment pad right here. Array set into that field, and I will.
And the cables from each of those each of those rows is underground to the pad, or?
Yes, I believe so. I believe they ultimately will end up, they wouldn't be above the panels. I guess I'll say that.
Right. That wouldn't be in your interest, yeah.
Correct, precisely. So here's where that concrete panel is. You have the agricultural gate. So around the array, we've got the ag fencing it serves two purposes. It can keep animals in and animals out as one purpose. And then secondarily, just through electric code, right? You've got to have a suitable fence around that array. So here's where we're trying to maintain the existing vegetation there's a house over here, so maintaining that existing is important. Also topographically, it's different. And then here's where we're adding some screening, even though there's no houses there. It just made sense to add some screening there. There are two agricultural roads, ones that go on the westerly side along the property line, one that cuts in, that's utilized currently. That access, we would put a 20-foot wide agricultural gate. This would be it's all gravel, right? So there's a proposed gravel access drive here with that hammerhead to allow turnaround. And then you've got the equipment pad here. You've got your array, 14-foot spacing in between the panels, and then 18 feet between this upper section and lower section. And then, like I said, the wetlands are flagged down here at the bottom. The 35-foot is here, and then the clearing and the ag fence are a little bit beyond that. I'll go to the next slide.
Just a second on that, this drawing.
Sure.
Mr. Reedy.
Sure.
Is Barry also North Maple Street LLC, or is that somebody else?
He is also North Maple
Okay.
Street LLC. Yes. Okay. So now here's a close-up of the array itself. Again, construction entrance here, and I'll call it maintenance entrance, which, I mean, you all know, you've had enough in front of you to know what service of these is actually like. Arrays going north to south because they will be single access trackers. They'll set in the east, they'll track the sun, and then they'll reset overnight. On the low end, at their middle point, I should say, they're going to be 10 feet. At their highest point, it's 7 feet at the bottom and 13 feet at the top. And so then it just moves throughout the day. So it'll be 7 feet on the westerly side and 13 feet at the top, and then they reset overnight. But like I said, it's 10 feet minimum flat when they're a table. Besides this area in here that Barry's going to fill, really minimal grading for the site besides this area here. And even still, you can see the contours. There's not a ton that's going on there. Down here at the bottom, as I said before, everything kind of flows down here. So this is where we're going to be keeping the drainage. And then, if you remember from that aerial, between here and any other development is still a really significant distance. And practically the overflow, if any, would go right into the wetland, which is kind of where you want it to go anyway. And then again, Mark, you'll see on this side here, we've got that wetland line, and it stays, it's outside of that field, and the development exists in the field. Save for down here, if you look, you can see the existing tree line. My mouse is following it right now. So that portion right here, there'll be panels where the existing trees are. It'll be cut back, and obviously this is the southerly exposure, so you've got to cut back a little bit more on the southerly side to allow that light to get in.
And the intent is to continue haying, or you're leaving that open, whether it's grazing or haying or?
Yeah, I say we'll leave it open. I think when I talked to Barry today, I think it was any of the haying or grazing, or he even thought of food production, some sort of vegetable production. Obviously, Joe's doing a bunch of different stuff, further.
Recreational marijuana? No?
No, I don't. I think that's probably a no.
Okay.
At this point, at least. So yeah, but obviously, and so part of this, and I probably should have said it at the beginning, but I just more for the public, because I know you all know, because you've had so many of these in front of you. There's a process you have to go through with the Department of Energy Resources and the SMART program, and Mass Department of Agricultural Resources, so that they qualify you as a dual use project, right? So right now we are saying, this is what we would like to do. Here are the plans. And here's a proposal. We still have to go through MDR and DOER to get their approval. If at any point that, and so I'll even back up some more and say, there are financial benefits, right? To make this sustainable, the state has said, we need renewable energy. Where are we going to put it? We don't want to cut trees down if we can help it. Let's put them on rooftops. Let's put them on brownfields. Let's put them on parking lots. And if it's the right situation, let's put them on farmland. But understanding that in farmland, you're gonna have to bear additional cost because of the height and the size of the panels, just because they have to be taller than a traditional array, because you're gonna have to get the equipment underneath it. The state incentivizes that. And really, the only way this works economically is with that incentive. And so if there were to be a cessation of farming here, the incentives go away. And so this is one way to say this is going to be farmed, right? And it's going to be farmed to the extent that MDR requires and DOER requires, because the only way to keep that financial incentives, which is what really the whole project is somewhat predicated on, as far as creating it, you're going to have to keep it farmed. And so, I know folks, some people in the audience may not, they say, well, what if it stops? That's like a death knell. Also, there will be a financial surety posted, we'd suggest, prior to receipt of a building permit, sufficient for decommissioning, so that if at some point in the future farming stopped, the array stopped making financial sense in producing, there is an obligation to remove it. And if the landowner does not remove it, then there would be surety, financial surety, decommissioning, where the town could access to have it removed. And so it's not like you're going to end up with a blighted property with panels and posts sticking out of it. There's going to be money to be able to remove it. If you can only do that for all your projects,
Right.
You'd be in a pretty good space. So that's the project. I'm happy to get into any more detail about the panels, their heights, etc. We have detailed
have a-
cut sheets, but
I do have a question about the height, and I'm wondering if there's
Whoa,
a way,
Miss Brinkley,
Brinkerhoff.
Okay, Brinkerhoff. I will, the chairman will be calling on people with questions.
All right,
You will not be omitted. Just be patient, please. Okay? Questions from the planning board, comments?
So it says 14 feet between them. So what is the actual post to post?
20, I think it's 21.5. I
Okay.
think that's
Okay.
what it is. Yeah, I don't know if I have that. I saw it somewhere. I thought it was 21.5.
Do you have any of those, where you take an existing photo and you Photoshop in, like you have any shots from Route 9? If
No, I
this
don't
would
have
be
any renderings.
visible?
I don't have any renderings.
Other planning board members?
Anybody else on the planning board have any comments or questions?
Nope.
I can't see most of the people that are there, because could you stop your screen?
I'll stop sharing. Sure. Sorry, Jim.
Yep. If
Yeah.
you will raise your hand electronically, you will sort to the upper left-hand corner of the screen. There, like that.
I have
And,
one more question.
that makes it easier to be sure we don't ignore anyone inadvertently.
If I could just ask before we go to the public, so what is what are you expecting the uses of the east access off of Maple and the northwest access once you're under operation? That you call that the agricultural fence, so the haying equipment will continue to use the easement across, I don't know if that's Biden or who that,
Yeah, so there's so on the westerly side for operation and agricultural access, it will continue as it's always been. There is an 18-foot wide right of way over Brenda Fidenkevich's land. However, there is a farm road over Isaac Chow's land, and it's been that farm road which has existed since, I want to say, like the 1960s. If we don't have to, I don't know that there's any reason why we'd have to disrupt Brenda's land if we just continue to use that existing farm road. I mean, I think it's going to be sufficient for the purposes that we're using it for.
so it'll have heavy use during heavier use during construction and then go back to what it's always been.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, for the construction piece with those, again, there's not gonna be huge equipment, trees coming down, but that's Wagner wood, I'd assume. Anytime we expect to have one of those bigger vehicles, if it's because we all know that corner, right? If police detail and coordination is needed, there's no problem, right? It's not at a frequency where they're gonna have to sit there all day. It's probably schedule and figure out what makes sense to get a police detail there just to make sure in both directions traffic stops, that larger truck is able to either pull out or pull in. And then, people can go about their day. So
And you said, you mentioned 6 tractor trailers of the panels. Do you have any calculations on how many truckloads of the fill for that one spot?
oh, that's a good question. Barry, I'll
How
probably ask you if you've got a sense of
how many cubic yards?
how many dump trucks you think may go to fill that.
I have not figured that out yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
But that should be done within the course of like a week, right? I mean, you're gonna try, you're gonna wanna get that done quickly so you can start on your construction, right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Keisha.
Everybody else on the planning board? Okay. Elizabeth Brinkerhoff, you were first. Your question. You're muted. He's answering.
We have a hand in,
Kristen Sykes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I'm sorry that I'm not Kristen Sykes. That's my lovely wife who's letting me use her Zoom to participate and listen to this. Thank you for having public here. I am a farmer, and I've been following these proposals and the topic of dual use, and I have a concern about, well, frankly, about the money. And we know that farmers are struggling financially all over, and understandably, this program is a generous revenue generator for the landowner in many cases. But the question is, what about the farmer? What about money for the farmer from this solar project? And I see that Mr. Roberts is on here, and I gather that this plan is not even firm yet as to what the farm plan is, but will the actual farmer get any of the solar revenue from the solar project is my question.
Mr. Roberts is a farmer.
So he's gonna say yes, he better get some from the solar facility. But, I think more generally, just, so this one's a little bit different because it's the farmer who owns the land, who's gonna be farming under the array, so it kind of checks all those boxes. What I've seen in practice, just representing other landowners, for those, I guess, that just have farmland and aren't the farmers themselves, there's usually a stipend that the solar companies pay. I frankly don't know if it's enough. I don't know if it is enough or not enough for that farmer. But what I've seen is that there's negotiation that happens between the solar companies and the farmers. Most often there are landowners. The farmer is the landowner, and then they end up leasing the land to a solar developer who is ultimately going to develop it, and then the farmer still farms under it. And so those are the times when you have to really look to see what the farmer's actually getting. Sometimes it's not necessarily the farmer making money directly from the farming under the array, it's the lease payments because they're also the landowner, where you'll see that farmer making money. So it's a little bit of an indirect way. Again, those situations are different than this situation where Barry is the developer and the farmer.
Thank you.
Somebody else? Question. Elizabeth?
I'm back now.
Okay.
I got lost here somewhere and I'm back. I was wondering if there would be a way to have a some sort of images showing the height of the array. I would think that it would be possible. I have a hard time envisioning so many feet high, unless it's compared to a two-story building or a five-story building. But there should be a way to go on Route 9 and show, looking across to Rocky Hill Road, what that looks like, and also from Rocky Hill Road, looking across toward Route 9, what that would look like. Is that something that the people doing this engineering or the schematics for all of this could create?
So I guess I think it probably could be created, but I just want to contextualize it a little bit because the 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 panels will be, if they're flat, 10 feet, right? So from grade to them at their flat position, 10 feet. As they rotate, the top of them would be 13 feet. And so it's going to vary depending upon where you're looking from. Rocky Hill is about 216 feet elevation. And then let's say the back of the houses that are along Rocky Hill are probably 210 feet. The tallest are probably going to be, let's say, and this is after that, the trees behind the houses, you've got anywhere between 196 feet of ground level and maybe 200, and then it starts to go down to 187, 177. And so, at the lowest point, you're talking about the top of these being at 190 elevation, where you've got Rocky Hill 15, 25 feet above it in some circumstances. And then similarly, as you start to go up the grade, you're going to have some that would be probably at ground level. The top of them would be at ground level, and that's probably being generous, for the back of those homes on Rocky Hill. And so, I mean, I just don't. And then if you're one more thing, and then if you're on Rocky Hill, I drove it just today to take a look, and its leaves are off. The existing vegetation is such that there might be like one spot where you can see a portion of this field from Rocky Hill, but you really can't see a lot of this field because of its positioning and its topography. So while it could be done, I just don't know how meaningful it would be to give you what you want to see. So I think I mean, ceilings in your house could be anywhere from 7 to 9 feet. So go, 4 feet above that. That will give you a sense of what you'd be talking about from the ground to the top of the panel in the most severe conditions.
From Route 9, I'm just envisioning, you're not going to see much of anything of this from Route 9. The only place you're really going to see these panels is from approximately the nursing home to just a little bit north of the nursing home, because that's about the only open field looking westward where you're going to see much of anything.
I think-
Rocky Hill Road is going to be pretty much hidden from the vegetation and the houses that are there. Route 9, the malls and the vegetation there are going to hide most of it. So you're not going to see. I'm not going to say you can't see this from North Maple Street, but that's going to be about the only place where maybe I doubt it'll be much more than a quarter mile.
Yeah, I just pulled up the street view on Google Maps from Route 9, and you can't see over the trees along the
I'm
along the
less
road there.
concerned with Route 9 than I am about Rocky Hill Road site.
Rocky Hill Road, you're not going to see. It's going to be. I'm trying to think where you would see it on Rocky Hill Road. Maybe
117, and I believe I see this whole field from
if you can see the field, you will see some of these panels. That's the best way to say it right now.
and that, I really appreciate solar. I don't want to stand in anybody's way around promoting solar, but I want to have some reassurance that they're not going to be so obtrusive that they will really matter. You know, I really would like some reassurance. And so a visual, if someone could go up and see what it would just demonstrate what it would look like, that would be great.
The,
I think it would be appreciated by all of us on
the,
the road.
because Rocky Hill Road is significantly above this solar field. If you can see the field from Rocky Hill Road, there is no reasonable way to screen this field, proposed solar field from Rocky Hill Road, because you're so much higher than the solar field. You would need some monster trees to hide this, to be honest.
And that's not at all what I'm asking for. I'm simply asking for a visual of what this would be looking like.
I'm using the Google Street view on Rocky Hill Road, and I'm trying to find, I thought there was like one spot where you could see through the properties. And
I think there is, and I think some backyards you might be able to see it too.
most of the properties I'm seeing have trees.
Yeah.
At least,
From backyard, you will be able to see it.
yeah.
There's probably not too much of a question about that. Depending on how the road turns.
Yeah, Tom, did one of your plans show existing trees between those houses and your project?
Well, what is the number of your house, Ms. Brinkerhoff?
Said
I'm
117.
at 117. And again,
117.
I understand that they will be visible from my house. And I accept that. I don't expect that they'll be blocking anything from me, but I would like to see some representation of what it will look like, if that is possible to come up with.
Mr. Reedy and Mr. Roberts will look into that.
Thank-
Okay,
Let me I'll share quickly, Jim, while this is 117 right here. If you can see my screen, I'm up here in the
yes,
on the northwest side. And so you've got, from where they are to where the panels are, you're crossing wetlands and existing vegetation. That's all part of that North Maple Street. So that's not going to be touched. And I wonder, because I was doing the same thing as Mark was doing, looking on Google Street View to see if there's any spots or patches that you can see through. We could try to take a photo and then like superimpose the panels. I just don't think it's going to do it justice. So what is it going to look like? It'll be from here and looking across the fields and the vegetation. You're going to see, if you can see part of the field, this is what's going to be in the field. I think you hit the nail on the head, Jim.
Yeah, 117, just to the west of them is that one open spot that you can look down, and it looks pretty. I mean, I think when they took this was obviously summer. There were leaves on all the trees. And everything looks high enough that you can't even see down towards Route 9. But how that looks after the leaves are down, yeah, right. That's what I'm looking at.
Yep.
I think the 10 feet as the terrain drops would be below that.
Right.
But I don't know what that looks like in the winter.
who was it had?
Earl was wanting to speak up. I think she
Yes,
sent.
who was it? Somebody up? Just,
Merle, can you just?
Yeah, I tried, I couldn't find the
Okay.
raise your hand button,
Yes.
so I put it in the
It's
chat.
usually under reactions, but
Yes.
yeah, sure.
It's
Oh,
under the
really?
React. It's on the React menu at the bottom of your page, and the React menu is a heart.
Oh,
okay, Merle Bruno.
oh, I see
I have
that,
a
yeah,
question.
yeah. play chime for her. Okay. So can I ask now or is someone else in the queue?
You're good.
Okay, it's not a question, actually, it was just following up on Elizabeth. This is kind of an old school suggestion, but I think when the book depository was being considered and we were concerned about how much of the building and stuff we would see, how tall it would look. I think I remember posts being put up with not a lot, like 4 of them, with balloons on top. So we could get an idea of the height of what we'd be seeing from here and whether we could see it or not. I don't know if that's easier or more complicated than doing something visually on
The
computer,
balloons
but
on a post would be much simpler to put up at a few points on the property than to take a picture and to superimpose the solar panels.
yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, just maybe to this whole point, I don't remember exactly what the numbers were, but if you've seen the book repository when they actually built it in Hatfield, I mean, those are probably 30, 35 foot. That was like a 35-foot tall building, right? I mean, I think that's what they were talking about. Here, I don't know that it's going to be a function of the height that is going to tell you whether or not you're going to see these. If you can see the field, there will be solar panels in the field, right? I think that's probably as simply as I can say it. So if you can look out and if you see the hay field, you're going to see solar panels. And so I don't know that again that the
Yeah.
height of them is gonna like it's not like it's 13 feet tall, right? That's at
Yeah,
the max height. So it's not like it's gonna peak up like, and this is a just Merle for the, I guess comprehension here is this is a totally different site than the book annex site.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
I
Like,
got that.
it's just because everybody, and not you necessarily, but everybody asks, like, oh, is this the book annex? And no. This one, and I'll show quickly, this was where that book annex was going, was right in
Yeah.
here, right? And so that's where the 30-foot, whatever foot tall
Yeah.
structure was. Here is where the array is going to go. And so, like I said, if you can see this grass right now, you are going to see the array. And I don't know that the height of it really is going to matter. It's really, if you see it, that's what you'll see.
Okay.
And they'll be
and-
13 feet high is what you're saying.
At its
Mm.
highest point, yeah. So the way that these
Okay.
work, and let me show you.
I saw the corner where your 4,000 concrete is going. That looked like it was a 187, so that would put it up around 200.
Yep.
And it looks like the backyards are around 206. You took the dimensions down, so it looked like it would be lower than your backyard.
Correct. Yeah. And so here, if you can see, here's just a side view schematic and front view of the panels, right? So you've got 10-foot height when they're in their horizontal non-tracking. So usually if Barry's going to go in between the rows with his tractor, that's the height they'd be at. If they are tracking, you'll see on the low side it's 7 feet, and on the higher side it's 13 feet. So as Mark was saying, this is when they're in the most extreme position that they can be in. They will be 13 feet off of the existing grade. That's the height.
Thank you.
I'm not so worried about that. I just wanted to throw in the suggestion, but I like the idea that you're considering farming it, because things I've been reading about solar where they've been able to either have grazing or planting underneath it just seems to me such a better use of the land to do both, not have solar be obliterating farmland, but somehow encouraging it.
I like
And
the
the-
idea of having cattle out there as well. So
Yeah,
We have one more hand raised.
Christine Paradise? Yes.
Yeah, 32 North Maple Street. Fully supportive of solar. I have solar on my back roof. Wondering if I'm especially supportive of this, if it precludes other things happening in that back area of 55 acres or so, or if this is just a piece of a puzzle. And I haven't been following all the things recently in terms of other possible developments in our back neighborhood.
Sure. And so I'm just going to bring up the screen just to make sure, Christine, you're talking about this area here, right? Yeah. This is currently priority habitat, right? So let me show, I mean, which I'm sure you know, because you're nodding your head like you certainly know. I'll pull this up just to show everybody else. Right, so this is all which really precludes development, and if there is going to be development, it's going to be, I'd say, a long ways away, because where this is located in relation to Amherst, which is an environmental justice community, the process that you have to go through is going to take at least 12 months to do that. So what we're doing here is much, it's not going to require the same scrutiny as a project here would. So, you know, when we're using the existing farm road. So this is just to say, besides this existing farm road, there's no proposal for this land. I can't say it's going to preclude something in the future, but I can say there's no proposal for this land.
Thanks. Yeah, I just wasn't following recent dialogue around that. And I mean, I see deer, bear, bobcats. You know, there's a nice trail back there. And I just was wanting to ask that question.
Don't take this the wrong way, but Kristen Sykes keeps keeping the name there, so I'm gonna have to keep calling that name when I call you.
That's all right. I'm proud to wear it. I get a little confused when I think about that you've gone to the extent and the expense of having the engineering drawings and the plan and going to the planning board for approval, I gather, when this project hasn't even, from what you said, it hasn't been submitted yet to DOER for approval. I mean, is that typical? And is that a good use of?
Yeah, so we have to go through our quote unquote non-ministerial approvals first before we can submit to DOER.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is, I'm with you, right? It's a little bit cart before the horse.
All right. Thank you.
But it's the cost of doing business, I guess.
All right.
So are we on board for putting a couple posts and balloons or a little Tickle Me Elmo or something on top of it? Or
I mean, I guess my question would be, does the board feel comfortable approving this evening? You know, I don't know. We'll go out and do it. Ideally, we get approval this evening and still go out to do it just to show the neighbors what it's going to look like. I think we're happy to do that if the board would be willing to approve.
Yeah,
We're just
because of the tight timeline that the for lack of a better term, the government has put everybody into. What maybe we can do is give you an approval tonight, because nobody is saying they don't like it. They just want to know what it looks like ahead of time. So if Elizabeth Brinkerhoff would give you permission to go onto her property and take a picture, and then simply superimpose the panels onto that picture, that might be the reasonable thing to do. And that way she at least has an idea of what's coming down the line, and maybe a couple of balloons in the air at that time when you take the picture wouldn't hurt. That way you kill two birds with one stone.
That would be,
we can certainly do the balloons. I'd have to check into the photo rendering. Sometimes they can look deceptive. So I think maybe just putting those balloons out there, you know, she'll be able to certainly see where and the height.
a quick question for Ms. Brinkerhoff. In the winter, when the deciduous trees lose their leaves and the other underbrush that tends to grow up in the spring and die off in the fall, in the winter, are you able to see that hayfield?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
and again, I understand that there will be something there to see, and that doesn't bother me because of the purpose for these solar panels. I also have solar panels on my roof, and I'm also concerned about the proper use of farmland and the idea that it will be hayed or pastured or whatever is all very positive for me.
Okay.
There is one of these already installed at the Sykowski farm off of Shattuck Road. If you wanted to take a drive up there, you basically can't see it from Cummins Road. You have to drive around onto Shattuck Road and go north about a little ways, and it'll be on your right. It is visible, but that will give you an idea of the scale.
Great, I can do that.
The other, there's a number of solar fields on farmland, but that is the only one, that's the first one in the area that actually has farming underneath it. He's had that for, I think, a couple of years now, and he's raised a couple of crops there. He's raised some different types of cabbage and lettuce type crops. I think he's even thinking of raising some sweet corn, or he did raise sweet corn, I think, with the last year or this year. And so it's worked out well for him.
Is there an address on Shattuck that I can put into my G?
Is it like
Get
up
you,
across? Is it like across from Lady Slipper or something like that?
Yeah, Shattuck Road, if you go down 47, there's a garage at the end of 47 and Cummins Road. Take the right onto Cummins Road going north on 47, and it will be your first left off of Cummins Road. And then when you're driving down Shattuck Road, look on towards your right. It's way off on a distance. It's not like right next to the road. It's probably, it's going to be 500 or 600 feet off of the road.
There's one house, a tobacco barn, and a road there with well, they've got some telephone poles. And there'll be a farm road there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
should
I think it's across the street from Kennedy. I used to live on Morningstar Drive. I think
Kennedy,
it's
there.
Okay,
I think it's
yes,
across the road from Kennedy.
Exactly.
yes,
Okay, I
exactly
should be
right.
able to find it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
I just want to put in, if I can, I'd rather see the solar array than big trees put up to shade it so that there's enough invasive trees and stuff in that field for our house. So I'd rather be able to see the Holyoke Range than have to look at trees, and I wouldn't mind seeing the solar array.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else have anything? Comments, questions? Hearing none, so Mr. Reedy and Mr. Roberts will put some balloons up there. If they can get permission from Mr. Brinkerhoff, take a picture and try to see if they can superimpose the thing. But I think I'm kind of in agreement with Mr. Reedy that I'm not quite sure how much is that going to show you, as much as giving you an idea of the height of the panels in the field. You may see that it's like, they're really not that big, because 13 feet is not even the height of a one-story house. It's probably about the eve height of a one-story house. Anyways, okay. Mr. Dwyer?
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the application for site plan approval special permit, solar special permit, business use in aquifer, and access. Based upon the following findings and upon the following conditions, project satisfies the general purposes of the bylaw, harmony with the general purpose of the solar permit bylaw, of the business use in the aquifer special permit, and the access special permit. Project is not detrimental to the established or future character of the neighborhood. Is allowed by the bylaw. Work will be conducted in accordance with the plans. What's the revision date of your plans, Tom?
You're muted.
October 30th, 2025.
It was cabbage night.
Okay. Copies of the application have been distributed as provided in the bylaw. Satisfies site plan review criteria. Planning board places the following conditions. This is for an agrivoltaic dual use ground mounted energy system. How many panels are there in total?
Say 5,356.
5, 3, 5, 6. And what did you say? 3.5 acres?
The parcels combined are 64.7 acres. The panels themselves, the panels take up 3.4 acres.
3.4 acres of how long was what was the total acreage?
Total acreage is 64.7. And so, just to be clear, obviously with the row spacing, they're going to take up more than 3.4 acres, but the panels themselves take up 3.42 acres.
Okay.
So the footprint of the array is more than that.
Correct. Yes. Because
Maybe double that.
I think it at least. And so one of the things is in a typical array, you can smush it down. In something like this, you have to make it larger, right? Wider, because you need the row spacing to get the tractors in between, right? And yeah, and not even that, Mark, it's like in a typical array, you have like 10 feet of row spacing. But you'd have, I think you'd get, what is my math? But 4.4 megawatts DC is what you get if you smushed it down. So because we spread it out a little bit more, I mean, the area inside, and it's not a regular shape. The area inside the agricultural fencing is, I want to say 14 point something. 14.3 acres is the total amount inside the agricultural fencing of a 64.7 acre site.
Okay. No signs, no outdoor light fixtures, no storage trailers, shipping containers, anything else not shown on the approved plans. No performance security under site plan approval bylaws. The solar contains adequate provision. Approval is subject to approval of other boards if and as required, including but not limited to the Hadley Conservation Commission and state agencies with jurisdiction. Any project changes directed by other boards must be approved by the planning board. Planning will be reviewed for compliance by an independent consultant on behalf of the planning board, sole cost and expense of the applicant. Solar special permit. Project is a large-scale ground-mounted solar energy system that is not designed as an on-site solar energy system as defined in the bylaw. As such, it requires a special permit. It is located in the agricultural residential district as provided by the bylaw. It is adequately distant. Do not require other screening. Do you have an estimate for the removal bond?
I do.
Or I should say, do you have an estimated cost of removal?
I have an estimated cost of removal. So total cost to remove it today, and then you can tell me which calculation you want to use. Total cost to remove $137,000. If you add, I don't know if you add contingency on yours. If you do, we can add contingency. If you do year $20, which I don't know how you, I guess I'll ask.
We do, we'll take your number, but we do it by a factor of 1.5 because we have to pay prevailing wage if we have to do it.
Okay.
That's
So-
1.5 to the 205.5 thousand. 205,500.
And that's escalated to year 20?
If you want escalated to year, so that was the question. If you want it escalated to year 20 with, we've got $276,300.
1.5 comes out to 414,450.
So 20-year was 276 what?
300. 276, 300 for a 20-year.
And what did it come out to, Jim?
414, 450.
And Tom, that's assuming like 2.5% inflation. each year?
Yeah, I'm not sure. So yes,
Compounded, yeah, okay,
yes.
thank you.
Smokes.
So I suspect we should go with the, well, as part of the motion, we can discuss it. I'm gonna make the motion at 414, 450. And then some conditions about decommissioning. If you don't have a proposed date, it'll be considered abandoned when it's no longer producing power. At the end of its life, it shall be removed. If you don't remove it, we will. You've met the conditions of administrative review, actual prospective control, clearing the limitation will be limited to what's necessary. No site lighting, no signs other than necessary signs for public safety. All utility connections underground to the extent possible, no appurtenant structures. No, you do have pertinent and appurtenant structure there, correct?
You have inverters and transformers or what?
Yeah, those will be on that pad, that equipment pad.
Yeah, the applicant should provide a copy of the project summary, electrical schematic, and site plan to local emergency services. Designed to prevent unauthorized access. And then the other one, business use in aquifer, there'll be no hazardous materials. And access across other than frontage. In this case, you're going to be accessing it from your frontage to some degree.
Easement, right?
Will your routine access, once it is built, be across the farm road or from Rocky Hill?
Those are both the same. So it'll be from Rocky Hill over the farm road. So we're, it'll be,
The frontage is on North Maple.
Right.
so
and
it'll
you-
be, we
It'll be
will,
across the easement.
That's right. So that will be your routine access once it's built.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, so you are using another farm road from North Maple to string your lines.
Correct, but the frontage for this site is here, and we're not utilizing that because of all the wetlands. So we thought access over something, because this is where we're practically going to be accessing it. So this seemed like the right special permit to ask for.
Okay, I agree in that case, because then the only that part of the bylaw says that if you are going to access across other than frontage, you're giving up access across the frontage.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
To protect the priority habitat.
Well, for the purpose of the access across other than frontage, it's to cut down on the number of access points to a property. But that will also incidentally further protect the habitat if you can't access from the frontage on North Maple Street. Right, so that is the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion or comments? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Done, I.
Dwyer, aye.
Maximowski, aye.
Farmer, I.
Zagrodnik, aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thanks a lot, guys. We appreciate it. And Elizabeth, I will, do you want my email now if you want to send me an email and we can coordinate?
That would be great.
Okay. Do you have a pen?
Of course.
Okay. So TREIDY, so T Reedy at Bacon Wilson, BACONWILSON.com.
Got it. Thank
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Barry. Thank you,
Okay.
Tom.
Good luck. Um,
And thank you to look,
I have nothing else.
and Kristen.
do anybody else have something?
The only thing that I have on there, otherwise, Jim and I.
But we
Yeah.
still had the 7 Brew continued to tonight.
I'm sorry, what?
We had 7 Brew continued to tonight.
Oh, I did not have that on the agenda.
Okay. I don't know what they're doing.
Continue that.
Well, I could reach out to Kayla if you want to find out where they are with the Conservation Committee.
Well, I think she might have been meeting with the wetland with them tonight. I'm not sure. She had some kind of a conservation meeting tonight. That's why she's not here. So maybe they have something going on with that. I know they've got some issues they're trying to work through. So I don't know what they are.
Is there a Conservation Committee meeting today?
Yes, their meeting is 6:30 tonight. You could check the agenda if you
Yeah,
wanted.
that's what I'm looking at right now. Don't see it.
No, I know that they still have some they have some conservation concerns they've got to address. And I don't know any more than that.
I don't see any. I don't see anything regarding that
I'll make
project.
a motion to continue the 7 Brew to January 20th of 26.
I would second that.
Oh, January 20. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. 20, you said 26?
Yeah, 1/20/26. That is our
Yeah. The second meeting and third Tuesday.
second meeting in January.
Okay. You have a motion
And I seconded it.
and a second? Any comments? All in favor?
Done, I.
Dwyer, aye.
Maximowski, aye.
Farmer, I.
Zagrodnik, aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Very good. Okay.
So the other thing, just maybe a report back, Jim and Kayla and I sat down and looked at the ADU bylaw, at the ADU regulations that the state has put out, and at the ADU, let's see, the regulations, yeah, our bylaw, the state regulations. I try to figure out how to calculate the allowable size of an accessory dwelling based on the size of a primary dwelling. And what
sets us apart?
the state regulation definition of includes all usable floor area, including unfinished basements, but not including porches, attics, and garages. So when we're looking at how big an ADU can be built, remember it's half the 900 square feet or half the size of the primary dwelling, whichever is smaller. So it's a little convoluted to get there, but if the ADU wants to put, Jim raised, what if the ADU wants a basement? Well, then they only get
450 square feet of a house. And
Even if it's not a finished basement?
if it's anything but a crawl space, if it is a bona fide basement, the basement of an ADU counts as square footage of the ADU. Now, this is where it gets very twisted, and I'm going to pick on the state for this. That is, you can tell the ADU was put together by politicians because state building code does not allow you to use a basement as habitable space unless it is a walkout. The ADU doesn't say that. A basement is a basement, and if it is a bona fide basement, even unfinished, it counts as square footage towards the ADU. Given that comment, if you have a 450 square foot basement, your first floor can be 450 square feet. Because those two total 900. That is a mighty small house. Therefore, a ADU is almost forced to build on slab. And it's that is the way the definitions read. The ADU is even somehow, well, yeah, that's enough said about that. I don't want to go any further because it's a bit more confusing than that because they're looking to revise even some of that to make it more goofy.
So this won't be on the exam, but the question has come up a few times. So we just wanted to make everybody aware that there is an answer.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily found in our bylaw, but it is in the state regulations that say what an acceptable bylaw must provide or will provide, or what is unacceptable language in a bylaw. So, just knowing that going forward, we've had a couple of things where a couple of times, and I think Kayla is working with one person whose mother has a pretty small house on a fairly large lot and wants to put an ADU at least 900 square feet, but seems to be running into some capacity issues with how large the principal dwelling is. So it'll come up. We've looked it up. We know where to find the answer. I've learned these are the kind of things you'll always look up every time the question is asked because you don't want to trust your memory on it. And you don't want to trust that the law hasn't changed. But there is an answer in the regulations that we can turn to if it comes up.
Yeah. And the porch doesn't matter whether it's enclosed or not. A porch, and the ADU bylaw specifically says even an enclosed porch does not count towards the square footage. Of course, the garage makes sense. A garage on an ADU doesn't count towards a livable space. But the kicker is that thing about the basement, and that's the way the law reads. So we'll just have to abide by it. Because
there was confusion on the side yard. 5 feet versus 15 feet versus our regulations?
Accessory structures.
The side yard in the zone bylaw is 15 feet,
Correct.
and that's the one we go by.
Okay.
The rear setback accessory building is 15 foot. A regular dwelling is 40 foot. That's the one Bill's proposed we change according to size. So if your accessory dwelling is, Bill's gonna work on a number, it'll stay at the 15-foot rear. But if the accessory building is larger than that amount that Bill comes up with, it'll be 40 feet. That'll just get rid of that part of it. If it's an existing accessory building, well, it'll be okay.
Accessory structure like 200 square feet or something.
So apparently anything under 200 square feet does not require a building permit. Anything over 200 square feet does require a building permit. So if you're buying a shed from the Eastern States Exposition and it doesn't require a building permit, you can put it closer to your property line, your rear property line. But if you have an accessory dwelling, it has to meet the setback for anything else subject to the building permit. As the regulations now read, if you allow accessory structures anywhere, an ADU can take advantage of that rule.
Right.
Which
So you would be able to, under current zoning, you would be able to put an ADU 15 feet from your rear property line.
Are trailers or prefabricated homes allowed?
Yes, because they're allowed by building code.
So you can take the wheels off and,
Well, prefabricated home is different than a mobile home.
exactly right, but if you take the wheels off the,
That is still a trailer. It was designed as a trailer.
Yeah, we're going to want to see building permits for anything over 200 square feet.
So that's, that's another one of the proposals that we mentioned beginning of the meeting that was the fifth amendment.
so when people ask the question, is there any area we can refer them to, in as much as that we weren't at the meeting, you guys were, you and Bill, to ask Kayla, or is it to be printed out?
Well, for general questions, they could call Bill and myself for the AD or the building inspector. As far as the zoning stuff, I mean, same thing. One of the Bill or myself, or the building inspector could reply to that. Because to try to send somebody to a location, the state regs sometimes are not the easiest thing to locate, especially depending on the question, depending what they ask, it may not be exactly where you might think.
Not to mention that, yeah, I think it'd be better to, let's see, I have it in our zoning bylaw, proposed bylaws, the ADU. Yeah, I have the final regulations and yeah, I'll just share this for. The thing is, with sending people anywhere, you have to be sure that you're also going to be looking at the latest. So here, for example, gross floor area, and that is how you calculate gross floor area of a principal dwelling. So that in turn is what you base the maximum size of the permitted ADU on. So it's in the state regulations.
All right.
Just be aware that it's there. You don't need to know where to get it. You just need to know to tell people they have to look at the state regs.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think I have anything else.
I have nothing else. Anybody have anything? Maybe?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion second. All in favor, roll call.
Don't I?
Dwyer, aye.
Maximowski, aye.
Farmar, aye.
Rodnick, aye.
Motion passes. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to anybody watching this. Thank you, Alex. Good night. Thank you. Oh, Kayla's not here tonight. Good night, everybody.